Hello, fellow Fandesals, and welcome to another off-season episode of the Fandesals podcast with me, Claire. And for this episode, I want you to join me on my trip to Intramuros. This is probably the first time in maybe 20 years that I've been to Intramuros. The last time I was here was when my cousin came from the States and wanted to visit some tourist spots. So the first thing we did, we bought food, we bought lunch before we went on our walking tour of Intramuros. Um, there really wasn't much of food choices there, so we just stayed at the one place that we thought we could have a meal with rice. So anyway, so this is the guy, the tourist guide who went with us on the walking tour. He was very informative. He had a lot of stories about the history of the place, a lot of trivia, and we learned a lot. I think we paid 500 pesos for the tour. So he accompanied us the whole way. It was a very long walk, and thankfully it wasn't really that hot. So we actually enjoyed our time there. So this is one spot that we went up to. He was telling us about how Intramuros was surrounded also by water in the past, and how they used to put cannons and weapons there to secure the place. So as you can see, there's a chapel there downstairs, and he was telling us that there used to be water in some parts of that. And on the other side of this wall, there is the golf course for Intramuros. So converted na siya into a golf course yung part of it. Anyway, so we didn't get to go inside the chapel, so we went past these damaged, I guess, homes or buildings, and he was telling us that this was because during the Japanese era, I think they were really damaged because when they were built in the Spanish era, they were made from wood, so it was easily damaged from the fire. So as you can see, there are cannons, and he was telling us that before it was called guns. It was also called guns, even if they were actually cannons, which makes sense because in the musical Hamilton, they called the cannons guns also. So there were a lot of, I guess you can call that bullets. um, I don't know if they're still active, but so we just kept our distance. Anyway, so here's the entrance to Fort Santiago, and the tour guide was telling us about the moat that there's only one narrow path to Fort Santiago, which is also a defensive tactic, so that if you get invaded, there's only one way in, so you can defend it easily. So this is the wall tourist spot for photo ops, Instagram, and we also took our picture there, pero I'm not gonna show that one. um, so yung students na lang. So according to the tour guide, again when you enter this wall, there is again a narrow path inside, so that when the invaders come, the place can be easily defended because they can be trapped inside this narrow area. And that's before you can enter the main Fort Santiago. So he was telling us about all these stories, and my sister and I were joking about the ghost stories that we hear about Fort Santiago and Intramuros. So this is Fort Santiago, the inside part. We didn't get to go to all the places inside because, again, like during my last video where we went to Manila Zoo and there were a lot of students, there were also a lot of students in the area who were on their field trips. So we tried to avoid the crowded spots. So we just stayed mostly outdoors. As you can see, there were a lot of students from different schools. Um, so we walked down the path and we went to see the Raja Sulaiman Theater. I think back in the day they really used to have theater productions here, and even in the recent past, I don't know if they still use it today. I'm assuming they still do, maybe not as often as it was in the past. So we went inside. There really wasn't much to see, but it was interesting. We also went down this path where they were telling us that there was a place where Jose Rizal, I think, was imprisoned. As you can see, there are a lot of kids there, and there was a figure that's supposed to represent Jose Rizal and his actual height, which, well, he looks like he's 4'11", maybe. He's really small. I didn't expect him to be that small. I mean, I know he's small, but not like that. So anyway, so there's this other path. This is the one that leads to Pasig River, and on the other side is Chinatown. I miss Chinatown. Anyway, so there's this bridge that was donated by the Chinese government, and he was telling us about the relationship, the Filipino-Chinese relationship from way back in the day to the current times. There's also a small park there, so you can sit down, just enjoy the view of Chinatown, the Pasig River, and all that. He also gave us a lot of trivia and a bit of a quiz about Intramuros. On the side that we just passed, it's there were a lot of versions of the Mi Ultimo Adios of Jose Rizal. They were from different languages like Korean, Japanese, Chinese, etc. So we walked down this path. To the left, there is a museum, and then to the right, there is a tunnel where there are dungeons where people were actually imprisoned during the Japanese period. It's a bit difficult to go inside. It's kind of scary and it's really, really hot because it's underground. But we still managed to go inside, even with my niece, who is actually just 2 years old. We went inside that narrow path. So, as you can see, there were figures to represent the Japanese soldiers and the Filipinos that were imprisoned there. There were pictures of the aftermath from the Japanese period when there were actually people inside. It's a very, very sad place to be in, and you can really feel how sad and how scary that place was. I mean, I can't imagine how bad it was in the past because from the stories that the tour guide was telling us, it was really very depressing. Like for this small room, there would be hundreds of people inside, and with just that one small window. And there were actually rooms that did not even have windows at all. So you can imagine being stuck there with all these people. Some of them were even actually dead, according to the tour guide. So it was really scary and depressing. So we went down this path to go back up. It's still very dark and very hot. Ayun, may Japanese soldier. Oh no. So we went up, and this is what we would see again, the view of Chinatown, Pasig River, etc. Then after that, we went to the museum where there were Lego miniatures of the buildings inside Intramuros. I was so impressed because I know how hard it is to build things with Lego and to actually copy real life buildings and make them look like that is impressive. And there was also another thing that was exhibited there. I think it was artwork made of, I guess, gold. And it was really beautiful. And I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the artist. But as you can see, it's a really beautiful concept. I guess it's about the Philippines or Filipinas. And ang theme niya talaga is gold. It's gold, gold, gold everywhere. Anyway, so there was a Rizal Museum where supposedly there is still a part of Rizal there inside. I don't know. I think a bone or something. We didn't get to go inside because there were a lot of kids from the field trip. So that was our trip to Fort Santiago and Intramuros. I hope you guys enjoyed what little I had to share. Until next time, fellow Fandesals. Bye.